For years I performed as a professional magician and I toured all over the world. I did tricks like people tied my hands with a straitjacket and I was hanging upside down with the burning ropes. And the next step was that I started to do a magic trick where people would tie my hands and legs and push me out of an airplane. That's how I started to skydive.
Well, the reason why I first thought about base jumping was I was 16 years old and I remember seeing a documentary, kind of a documentary sports show on MTV about John Vincent, who was a guy who was a base jumper however many years ago, and he was jumping the St. Louis Arch and the World Trade Center. And the first thing I saw was him standing on the edge of a cliff in France called Maguelone. And I remember him looking at the camera and sticking his tongue out, and he had like 2 piercings in his tongue. And I remember him just stepping off the cliff into a reverse flip. And I remember thinking, that's the single coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
After I decided to learn how to base jump, the next thing was to learn someone to teach me. And I was from Finland and no one in Finland base jumped, so I traveled to the States and I went to the drop zones and I was asking around people who would base jump. And luckily I found a guy. There was a guy who made base rigs, and he sold me one of the rigs and promised that he would take care of me. And we climbed one antenna with him, but it was too windy, we couldn't do any jumping. So pretty much after that, I was on my own. And I started to base jump with the most dangerous objects, antennas. And I'm lucky to say that I'm happy to be here because I had zero experience, and after the first 30 jumps were the most dangerous. I knew nothing. I jumped a lot. I made mistakes, but I also had a lot of luck.
The concept and the idea of a person like standing on the edge of a cliff, jumping off and flying in the air like a bird just seemed incredible to me, and it seemed like something that I was meant to do. So from that point forward, the only thing I really was thinking about was becoming a base jumper. It meant everything to me. I got into acrobatic base jumping very quickly into my base jumping career, I guess you'd call it. And I'd say on my 13th base jump, I started doing gainers. And you know, at the point, I kind of trained just off really big cliffs where I had a lot of time. So I knew that if I messed it up, I'd have enough time to recover and, you know, track away and still open safely. So most of my acrobatics in the beginning were off of very, very big cliffs, and that's where I trained to start with. But I then wanted to do things a little bit more complicated. I wanted to start adding twists to it, half twists, full twists. I wanted to start changing the directions of my flips. And I also wanted to clean them up and make them look nicer. So I decided, well, I pretty much was told by one of the best acrobatic base jumpers in the world, which was Dwayne Weston. He basically said, you know, if you want to do acrobatics and you want to make them look nice, you need to do diving training. And I basically, you know, took his advice and started training at USC with Hong Ping Lee, who was the collegiate diver at that point. He competed against Greg Louganis during like the Olympics, and he's a really good instructor. and I started taking high diving lessons, and that's pretty much how I started training for it.
I started to do my first acrobatic jumps when I had 10 base jumps, and I started to do things in the bad winds, and a lot of underhang objects and basically very low stuff with low pulls. That's a way to get good experience, that's a way to learn a lot, but that's also a way to get hurt a lot.
What I usually start doing is I come up with an idea for an acrobatic maneuver that I want to do. I train it in the pool to get it as like the little parts of it, because in the pool you can't do what you want to do off a cliff because you've got so much more working time off a cliff. So I do it in pieces. Like if I want to do reverse flips, I do reverse flips, and if I want to do a twist, I'll do a twist, and then if I want to go back into front flips, then I'll do front flips. And then what I'll do is I'll then take that to a really safe high cliff or a really safe high bridge, do it there, put the pieces together, double front, half twist, double back, and then once I have it nailed there and I know that I can handle this jump off of pretty much anything, that's when I'll take it to a more dangerous object.
Then 50 jumps later, my balls were gigantic and my brain was pretty small. You know, I thought I was immortal and bulletproof. Things were about to happen.